Hello, 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 hello. doclqj here, and welcome to Familial Bonds monthly broadcast for 2019, month of July. I want to thank you guys for coming through to take part in this month's broadcast. Today, I want to talk about properly balancing self, right? So, I'm going to talk about spiritual energy synchronization and what that entails. Also, I'm going to cover the relationship advice topic towards the end of this broadcast as well. The thing that's a little bit different about this one, for one, is that it's live. I think I've done at least one broadcast this year that has been live, feed versus pre-recorded, and I kind of like that. It's working out. Um, I did have an opportunity to post this on a couple of different platforms prior to launching it here. And I do believe it'll be available for you guys to check it out after the fact, once I'm done with it here. The first thing, I've made notes for myself. The first thing is becoming familiar with the different components of yourself. And so I know that Richard Schwartz has, for the clinicians out there, has authored um, the different components of self, or the parts of self, right? For clinicians to deliver that modality of therapy to different people in therapy. And that's one way of looking at it. But different people are all individuals, and we all are very, very different in our own different ways. I think we all have different parts of self that present in different ways. I think you have to become very familiar with you. So your parts of self present in different ways, and they have different personalities, subcomponents. If you've ever watched the movie Inside Out, I think it's a Disney movie. What you will notice is, even though there is like this sadness, this joy and anger or hostility part of self, they are all different in different people. And so they look different. So I think what has to happen is you have to become kind of familiar with how your different components of self look, how they appear, how you can appeal to them, how you can reason with them. Like, what do they need from you to survive, right? What does that internal energy look like for you? Like, what does it need? Like, are you a person that needs deep seated meditation? Are you a person that needs prayer on a day to day in order for your energy to be fulfilled, those internal components of self to feel like what it needs for internal validation? Are you a person that needs prayer, words of positive affirmation to keep you going, to build you up in the morning, to get you going? You are great. Looking at yourself, telling yourself that you can do it every day. How do they operate? What are some of the things that make you function at optimal capacity on a day-to-day basis? What are some of those things that make you give 180% of you in everything that you do on a day-to-day basis? That's one of the things that I feel like gives you a proper insight into how those different parts of self can be properly orchestrated and can be properly put into work when you know that you need them. Okay. And give you a really good idea on how to recognize which one is presenting and when and how. Um, the other piece is to allow your curiosity to kind of carry you into the resonance of other parts of connectivity. And so those internal parts of self is one piece, because people, right, human beings, we're all about connective energy. We're all about being connected. Human beings were created to be connected to other components and components of self. And so we live and we thrive off being connected. And so, human connections to people, relationships, the interpersonal relationships of self, all of those components keep us alive and thriving, alive and well, and more importantly, feeling important, feeling fulfilled. And it keeps us from being depressed, lonely, and living unfulfilled lives. So now we need to look into those people who may be directly linked to us, right? Filial relationships, or what we call attachment figures, our parent caregivers, intimate attachment figures like your spouse, intimate partner, your children, those people who are a part of why you're wired the way you are wired, right? You ever heard someone say, I'm short fused, right? Well, you have a lot of patience. And so there is a reason why you have a lot of patience or a little patience. Those people that are connected to us, they've taught us or allowed us to be that way. Our connections with them, our experiences with them have given us power, given us insight, given us lessons over this course, over this tenure of our lives to be and to thrive in those atmospheres that allowed us to be that way. And so, those connections, once we familiarize ourselves with them, then we learn how to continue to be. But more importantly, we learn about ourselves. We learn how we become that way. Excuse me, and we learn how to continue to feed into that energy. We learn how to tap into that energy and how to control that piece so that we can give ourselves as much as we need when we're running low, or just kind of take away from it when we have an abundance or we have too much. Okay. And so what that looks like is becoming aware of who wires you. Okay. So knowing who those people are, who those higher powers on earth are, knowing, I guess, how they wire us, or whether or not they make us short fused, whether or not they make us very vulnerable, loving and compassionate people, angry, hostile people, frail and weak people, needy people, and to what extent, right? Um, Also, who fills and fuels your vessel externally? So, who are the energy sources for you? The people who are energy sources for you. I think knowing that helps to also bring you full circle, because then we know whether or not we need to avoid certain types of people during certain types of moments in our lives, or certain moments, right? So if we know that we're having a bad day and we know that a certain type of person gives off a certain energy for us, having a bad day, we don't want to be around Susan, who gives us negative energy all the time, right? Because then our bad day goes into a depressive episode. Okay. So it's not just a bad day where we can come out on top with a little bit of meditation, right? Now it's a bad day, depressive episode. Now the next day I don't want to get out of bed, and it's the symptoms are further exacerbated. So being aware, sometimes cognizance can be a buffer to further, you know, symptoms that may lead to depression and suicidal ideation and that sort of thing. Um, so tertiary connections and experiences. So these have to do with like your thoughts and experiences, thoughts and emotions associated with the things that we go through. And then those people who are connected to our primary caregiver attachments, or the people that are directly linked to us. Okay. So instead of our intimate connections, so now we're going to go into like our maybe our workplace, okay, or people that are affecting the people that are connected to us. So maybe people that are in their workplace that affect their attitudes or the experiences that we share with people that are directly connected to us, right? That made us feel a certain type of way, that may have affected our energy, but we've not necessarily processed those feelings, right? And so when it comes to properly balancing ourselves, if we become more aware of how we are feeling, if we become more aware of what we are thinking, and now we are seeking to understand those thoughts, we're seeking to understand those emotions, and we're seeking to know how to communicate those things to our partners, how to communicate those things to our employers, how to communicate those things to our children, and how to communicate those things to other people who are around us, even to ourselves, then we're in a better space so that we can actually achieve autonomy. The thing about being in a place of awareness, now that you know things, you can operate in a more productive manner. Some people say ignorance is bliss, but it really isn't because you're never fully ignorant. Okay. To know a thing and be cognizant or aware is to better yourself and to better your balance, more so than to know a thing and to try to avoid a thing, because that's what happens when you try to block it out. So, your different parts of self are responsible for protecting you, right? Helping you achieve autonomy, right? And helping you achieve full functionality. And so being balanced requires that you are cognizant and at the same time, you're very much protected. But you're always aware on some level when we talk about your subconscious level of awareness. And so you aware of things, but not avoidant of things. That means that you are autonomous. Okay. And so you are now balanced if you're aware of that thing and you're able to actually regulate the emotions associated with it and move things in its proper space and place. Okay. So remaining balanced requires that you are able to acknowledge a thing for what it is, move through and process it, process this thing, and sit with it, communicate your feelings, your thoughts, and emotions associated with it to whomever has affected you, including yourself, and move into a different space so that you can be a better person today and the next day. And you can grow in a positive way. And you can be your best version of self every single day. You don't have to be someone that you're not, and they don't have to be someone that they're not in order to make you feel better in the moment. And so that they feel better in the moment. But at the end of the day, you don't feel better and you are not better as a result of avoidance. Does that make sense? And so, properly balancing self requires that you do acknowledge the truth, sit with your truth. If you have to cry, cry it out. If you have to scream, scream it out. But what you won't do is avoid. Make sense? So now that we got that out of the way, we're going to move to our relationship topic. Kayla W. from Detroit, Michigan says, my husband and I have been together for 24 years. Congratulations. Congratulations, Kayla. It's a long time. Um, and have always craved the connection of another entity. What advice would you give us in selecting another party or parties? Well, hmm. Okay. So I guess here is the thing. Um, I think if you've been together for this long and it's been something that you guys have been interested in for this long, my first question for you guys would be what has stopped you from pursuing um, a polygyny in your relationship or polyamory in your relationship versus monogamy um, in all of this time, if that's the case, right? Um, and then in selecting another party or parties, it tells me that you may be looking for more than one person to add to your relationship. The first thing, as far as discernment, excuse me, would probably be to find yourself a polyamory relationship coach because we kind of specialize in helping you guys discern what it is that your dyad needs based off of some of the desires that you state. Um, and it's really good to kind of go over the polycule with someone that is experienced so that the vetting process looks like it could create the ideal situation. But I really think it's more important that you guys answer that first question. What has stopped you, if anything? Because 24 years is a very, very long time um, to have been living together as a monogamous entity, married, just as one, and then moving into a space, creating something that's non monogamous. So, my first question is definitely important, you know, to that second piece. I think with polyamorous relationships, you have to make sure that that's exactly what's needed, you know, and it's not something else that's needed for the relationship. So, of course, as always, um, I appreciate you guys for checking out this month's broadcast. And of course, if you guys have any further questions on properly balancing out the energy, then let me know. The end of that piece, hopefully, you guys understood. But the end of that piece, I think that I did not get through from my notes was the validation types when you guys are getting to the becoming familiar with your different parts of self and allowing yourself to be curious and carrying yourself into the other components that are kind of connective pieces to yourself. Even after you go into the tertiary connections and experiences where you're processing those thoughts and feelings and emotions and you are aware of how people that are connected to you make you feel and you're able to kind of articulate, hey, this experience that we experienced made me feel this certain type of way, and you're able to sit with your truth. I think the most important thing in that is to understand that some of us have the need for internal validation, but some of us have the need for external validation. Um, Understanding which type is a necessary component for you is really, really important. Okay. It's a really important part of balancing out that energy. Okay. Because if you need someone else to validate you and tell you, you know what, you're right, you're right, I need to straighten up, you know, and it was my fault and I shouldn't have done that. If you need that from someone and you do not get it in an argument or in a place where you felt wronged, if you don't get that, your spirit, your energy is going to be off. And it's really important that you're able to zero in on, hey, this is what I need as a result of you and I having had this experience and my feeling this way. I need you to tell me this. This is what I need to feel better. You need to be able to be honest enough with yourself and your partner, with your family member, whomever that you're communicating with, in order for you to get to a place where your spirit is calm enough, where you're able to feel more one with self so that you can be your best version of self. Okay, that's really, really important. I have to stress that before I end this video because I think I want to be able to give you guys the most reliable components of this information so that you're able to take and conduct better self-care, you know, as a result of these videos. Um, but that was really, really important because, like I said, you take from that and you do the work that you need to do on self after you have kind of resonated and put all of these components together, and you do the cathartic work, whether that's screaming or crying or whatever. You do it regularly, but also regular permission giving, you know, to feel sad, to feel angry, you know, to feel happy or whatever, and allow yourself the freedom to be, you know. I think that's all I had done. Okay. So, best of luck to you, Kayla, and to your husband. Um, wow. Thank you guys so much for checking me out and for your love and support. If you have already subscribed, thanks, thanks, thanks. Don't forget to like and share this video. And if you have not already subscribed, please find the subscribe button and do that below or around or wherever you do that here. All right. Later days. Take care.